My name is Brian Harper, and I am 36 years old, living in the small but lively town of Cedarfield, Ohio. If you have never been to Cedarfield, picture a place with old brick buildings on Main Street, people who know every detail about your life before you even know it yourself, and a lot of normal, hardworking folks just like me. I have always been the kind of person who takes pride in my work. I grew up helping my father with his hardware store after school, where I learned that doing a job well mattered just as much as doing it at all. Maybe that is why I thought being a program manager at the local manufacturing company would be a great fit for me. I like doing the work right, following the rules, and most importantly, not being bothered if I do not mess up. Most days I worked quietly and steadily, handling complicated supply budgets and making sure every little piece got ordered, received, stocked, and recorded down to the penny. It was not glamorous, but it was honest. The company had strict rules for everything. I had to get 3 different price estimates before buying a single pack of bolts or pens, and I had to keep all the receipts and send copies of them to 4 different departments. It was tedious but not impossible, and every time I turned in my paperwork without a mistake, I felt good. But all of that changed the summer master micromanaging mope, real name Richard Morrison, took over as my boss. People called him a micromanager long before he came to my department, and the rumors about him went all over Cedarfield. He works people to the bone, my friend Greg told me over coffee one morning. Worked 31 days straight for him once. 12 hours a day, no break. But the stories got weirder the longer you listened. Morrison would strut around, fist pounding the table about hard work and accountability, but everyone knew he spent more time joking with the office assistants and making phone calls trying to get onto television game shows than actually working. He drove the company vehicle over to a strip club on the edge of town, rock on, right in the middle of the day, and would come back smelling like cheap perfume. Then there were the vacation stories, a trip to Thailand here, a week off there, always chasing local talent, as he liked to call it, while his wife, the kindest lady you could ever meet, stayed home. Somehow he always had 2 favorite employees, his so-called disciples. These 2 would get every easy job, every award, and the rest of us did their work, mostly on weekends, nights, and holidays. He gave his disciples all the high grades, and the rest of us fought to keep up. I once watched as one of them, Andy, spent half the month training for a triathlon while Morrison forced us to cover his work. The day Morrison took over my supply budget was when things crossed the line between annoying and unbearable. He came stomping into my cluttered little office, pounding his fist like he was trying to crack the desk in half. "From now on, Harper," he said, his voice echoing off the concrete walls, "you clear every purchase with me. Every single pen, paper clip, and pad of sticky notes." I tried to show him the thick stack of paperwork that already went into each order. "This is more than enough for anyone to track," I told him, flipping through a file of highlighted receipts, but he just thumped his chest and said, "Accountability, Harper. This is how we run things now." I could feel the frustration boiling up inside me. I had spent years doing it the right way. All I wanted was to do my job, not jump through extra hoops invented by someone who showed up late from rock on with lipstick on his face. The days started running together. Now, before buying anything at all, I had to go find Morrison, track him down wherever he was hiding, and beg him to approve it. Orders backed up on my desk. My job doubled overnight, and the stress started slipping into my sleep. I forgot to eat lunch, I stopped seeing my friends, and after a while I felt empty, like all I did was fill out forms and watch other people get credit for my work. After 2 weeks, something inside me snapped. I reached the point where Morrison's controlling ways had tied my hands so tightly that I could hardly breathe. That Friday, he yelled at me because we had run out of black pens. "This never would have happened if you checked with me first," he barked, waving a purple marker he dug out of his pocket. That was the moment. I made up my mind right then. If he insisted I come to him for every single purchase, then that was exactly what I would do. I waited until Monday morning, when Morrison usually rolled in after his meetings at Rock On, and started blustering around the office. I walked past Andy and the rest of the team, made sure everyone could hear me, and knocked on his door. "Mr. Morrison," I said, keeping my face serious, "I need an hour of your time to talk about pens." At first, he chuckled and nodded, waving me in the door, thinking he would get to make another grand speech. I sat down across from him and cleared my throat. I started with ballpoint pens. "We need black pens, red pens, blue pens, and multicolor pens, but I do not know how many you want. Is it better to buy 100 exactly or 101? Should I do ink or gel pens? Should we get thin tips, medium tips, or thick tips? Do you want the cheap or the expensive brand? And by the way, what about highlighters?" At first, Morrison seemed confused. He reached for the packet of sticky notes on his desk and scribbled something. "Just order the normal kind," he said. "What is the normal kind?" I asked, pulling out 3 price estimates for every single color of pen. "Is the normal kind the 0.5mm tip or the 0.7mm, the white barrel or the clear barrel? And do you want the capped pens or the click pens?" I showed him the estimates, the catalogs, and the previous purchase orders. The conversation dragged on as I asked, "What about dry erase markers? We have low odor, fine point, chisel tip, and magnetic markers." He flipped through each sheet, growing quieter the longer I talked. An hour flew by, but I was not done. "That covers the pens and the markers," I announced, standing up to leave, "but I will need another hour tomorrow to talk through paper." I dangled the next stack of estimates in front of him. Printer paper comes in 5 different weights, and there is even more when you count color, texture, and finish. Morrison just sat there holding his head in his hands, his eyes glazing over. I could tell right then I was winning. The next day, sure enough, I showed up on schedule. I ran through cardstock, sticky notes, printer ink, envelopes, post-it notes, and file folders. Every detail, every brand, every quantity. I made Morrison approve each one every time and kept every single piece of documentation ready for his signature. When I was finally finished with that day's meeting, I closed my folder and said, "Tomorrow, we will need to cover storage boxes and filing cabinets. Do you want plastic or cardboard? And for how many drawers?" By the third day, Morrison met me at the door, his face red and his hands shaking. "For the love of God, Harper," he groaned, "just order what you need, just buy what you think is best. All I want is the receipts. That is it, get out of here." I shrugged, biting back a smile, and said, "Consider it done, boss." In the weeks that followed, I went back to doing my job the right way. Morrison turned his attention to other things, mostly teaching Andy how to skip the time clock and disappear before lunch. But word got around the office that anyone who had a problem with Morrison's rules should go see Harper. The stack of extra paperwork vanished from my desk, and I could breathe again. I never did get any awards from Morrison, but I started going out for coffee with my friends again and sleeping through the night. Every now and then, someone would bring me a new pen or a fresh pack of printer paper as a joke. Sometimes I would catch Morrison looking at me from down the hall, a little wary, and I knew he remembered just how much time I could waste if he ever tried to micromanage me again. Things were not perfect, but my world felt normal once more. And I could swear, every time I needed something at work, I got it without anyone pounding a fist on my desk ever again.